Hello, my creative friend. Do not forget that on Wednesdays we have bite-sized videos, a dose of inspiration to help you on your creative journey, aside from these longer form episodes on Mondays. And also, thank you very much for clicking that like button right now before you minimize the tab and get to your creative work. Now go create something amazing and enjoy the episode. Your Creative Push, episode 360.
When you really don't care about something, for some reason the universe is just like, here you go, you can have it.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngmin Brown, and my guest today is Talia Jackson. Talia is a model and actress who is a series regular on Netflix's Family Reunion. But with productions on hold because of the coronavirus, she's focusing on her music career and is producing and releasing music directly from home. And she comes on the show today to talk about how she first got into modeling and acting and how she originally turned down Family Reunion. She shares why our biggest victories often come when we're about to give up, and the way that the less we care about the outcome of something, the better we often do. She also talks about a difficult time that she had when Family Reunion first came out and why she had to leave Instagram, and the advice that she lives by now to not worry about what other people think. Talia also talks about the role that singing has played in her life, how she defeats perfectionism, how she honed in on her style of writing music, and how you are the only one who is going to be able to try to achieve your dreams. And this conversation happened at the end of May 2020. So just to give you context, that's about 2 months into the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting quarantine, which we get into in the conversation, but it is before the murder of George Floyd. So if you're listening when this episode first comes out and you're wondering why we didn't broach that topic, that's the reason. But we do get into race and her unique struggle with that. And I, for one, must say that she handled it in an incredibly inspiring way. She has an incredibly healthy and mature way of looking at what happened to her, and one that deeply inspired me, as well as everything else she talked about in this episode. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with the talented Talia Jackson. Talia, welcome to Your Creative Push.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here in these crazy days of quarantine and the coronavirus and just the world being very, very different than what we're used to. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, it is definitely different. Just getting used to it, I guess, settling into the idea of this.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting into that. But maybe we could sort of set the picture for everybody listening. Tell us how you got to the point you are today in your creative life, in your singing and your acting career.
Well, I originally grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and I lived there until I was 6. And my parents got a divorce, so we decided, or my mother decided, because I was just a child, she decided that she wanted to up and move to California, where her biological parents lived, or biological father lived. So me and my brother, my younger brother, who was like 4 or 5 at the time, we moved to Santa Barbara. And I had always done a little bit of like modeling, just like child modeling for like Kohl's and stuff and Target and whatever. I feel like every like kid kind of does that, but
Yeah.
it's like everyone has that one picture that you're like, yeah, this is when I modeled for Kohl's when I was 3.5 months old.
This was the dream.
Yeah. So I kind of did that when I was in Wisconsin, just like I would drive down to Milwaukee and stuff. And so when we had moved out to Santa Barbara, my mom kind of continued that for me in a sense. She just like had me get like a modeling agent, and we didn't really like, that wasn't like what we had moved out to Santa Barbara for, but since we were here and that's like what everyone was kind of doing, we were like, might as well. Yeah, it just ended up working out. And then the agency that I had actually gone with for modeling, which is Abrams, they ended up wanting to take me on commercially. So like theatrical for commercials. And I ended up going with them for that and just doing like some little commercial auditions and stuff. And trying to like hop in the industry the way I knew how. And I think I was still like 6 or 7, just doing commercial auditions and still living in Santa Barbara. But eventually, when things picked up in my acting career and I started doing more like theatrical work and stuff, we obviously moved up to Los Angeles because the drive was just a little bit ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you sort of decided to go, or that path kind of opened up before you to start acting,
Yeah.
what was your mentality then? Was it like an exciting thing, or were you like nervous about it? What was your mindset?
It had always been exciting to me. I just remember like growing up, I constantly wanted like not like attention, but like I wanted to like perform for people always. And I would always be putting on like little shows and stuff for my parents, which I'm sure a lot of people do, but I think mine like extended into realizing that that was possibly a career choice for me. And if I'm being honest, growing up, I'd never really seen myself, like, I'd never pictured myself like doing something. I was never the type of kid that was like, I want to be a firefighter when I grow up, or like, I want to be like a doctor or something. Like, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then, like, finding acting, my mentality was kind of like, oh, like, this is something I connect to and something I have fun with, and it doesn't terrify me. And it, like, came to the point where I realized, like, this was kind of all I ever wanted to do, which now I realize I couldn't really see myself anywhere else at this point, even though maybe it did seem like a far off idea. It was never like scary to me, but it just seemed like so hard to accomplish, or like to get to that like point, that breaking point in your career when like things just only go uphill, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
Was it smooth? I don't want to say smooth sailing, but were there ever doubts? Were you ever
Oh,
like, all right,
yeah.
maybe this isn't for me? Maybe this isn't
No,
what I wanted to do?
there were so many times. I mean, okay, so I've been acting for 11 years, but I really didn't book anything. I'm not going to say like important, but anything that like really went somewhere, something that people could see, something people were watching other than like a commercial or something.
Right, something
Um,
that really moved the bar.
yeah, yeah. Up until Family Reunion, which was I booked 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, the summer 2 years ago. So it kind of was just like a long haul for me. I was just waiting for that perfect project, and I'd done a pilot that I was really in love with. The whole cast was really thought it was going to go, and then it didn't, and that was heartbreaking. And it was kind of always like that, like from the beginning. It was always, here's a project, like you're auditioning, you're getting really close, and then it just doesn't work out. You don't match the parents, they're going older, younger. Like it's just always kind of something that makes you want to stop. And there had been so many times, and even before I'd booked Family Reunion, literally right before, I had just spent like the first half of the summer in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, because I go back to visit friends and family. My dad used to live there up until a couple months ago. So I was back in Wisconsin, and I don't know, I'd gotten so like just tired with acting that once I'd gone back to Wisconsin and like seen and like lived like what it was like to be like a normal teenager. I was 16. And I think as I was like approaching adulthood and I knew like I was going to be 18 soon, I was just like, it terrified me that like maybe I had worked so hard for something that was just never going to work for me. And so I was like, I just had this like kind of not realization, but a part of me was just like, I'm done. Like I don't want to like waste any more of my time if this is just not going anywhere. Cause it just felt like I had worked so hard for nothing. And I just ended up losing like 2 pilots that last pilot season before the summer. So I was just discouraged in every way. And I remember I came back from Wisconsin. I remember telling my mom, I was like, just take me out of it. And that whole summer in Wisconsin, I had told my agent, my mom, and my manager and everything, I was like, don't send me any auditions. I don't want to audition for anything. I just want to live like a normal life. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to do regular things and like stop focusing on like acting in a sense. So when I'd come back, I'd actually initially missed the audition for Family Reunion because it was going on in the summer. And it had been going on for a couple of weeks before I'd even gotten into it because I had just said no auditions. I was like, don't send me anything. So they didn't send it to me. But when I got back, they sent it to me and they were like, hey, it's kind of a last minute thing. Can you go in tomorrow? I think it was, to do this audition. And I had like turned it down. I was like, no. I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to go into it. And also, I'd read the script. I really liked the script, but I had read the log line for the family, and it said like an African American family, and I'm mixed, but I'm like very light skinned, and so automatically, me and my mom were like, I don't think I don't know, we just felt like it was like not going to work for me because that's how all the other ones in my career had gone. If it was like a black family, it was like most likely that I was just never going to get it because I'm not either fully black or I'm not mixed to look black, because I know a lot of mixed girls who play fully black just because they look more African American. So me and my mom were like, no, like we're just not going to do it. And we told our agent and they were like, all right. And then they ended up coming back to us and they were like, hey, they want you to do a tape for it anyways. Can you just do a tape? So we'd called my acting coach and made an appointment, and I just did the script. Really loved the script. The pilot is so good. I remember when me and my mom first read the script, we were like, this is me. Like, it was everything for me. It just wasn't like, it was the fact that I was going to have to play black, because originally we didn't know who the parents were going to be. Now in the end, Jade is mixed because Coco's mixed. My mom in the show is mixed. But we didn't know that because we didn't know who was cast. We didn't know we had Tia. But we did the script, we taped for it, and I'm just so glad I didn't like quit right then and there. There had obviously been other times when I was like kind of done with the industry, but that was like the one time where it was like the closest for me. I literally had been like, no, like I just told my friends, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. I don't know, nothing's really working out for me in this industry.
So I wish I had a bell or like some sort of like alarm to go off whenever like these kinds of stories happen, because they happen so often on the podcast, where it's like the worst, like the moment where you're gonna quit or like you might quit, but then you still persevere anyway, like you still go on, and that's like the biggest successes happen. It's so inspiring. Maybe one of the main reasons for this podcast is to just keep pushing.
I think that's kind of a thing that happens a lot, even in like, not even industry things. I feel like in life, I've always found that like, for some reason, life always wants to like give me exactly what I need and what I want, like at my breaking point. Like when I'm just so close to just like being done or like over whatever it is, it's like, finally is like, here you go. You finally like proved that you could like handle this. And then it's like, here. And maybe that's not how it should be, but like, I don't know. That's how it feels to me.
Right. Well, now if you were to try to like dissect that, do you think the reason that you found that success was maybe because you had a different attitude going in? Like, is it because almost like you care less, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I think that kind of is how it is, because I think the auditions I've really, really like, not in like a bad way, like the auditions I've really worked hard for, like where it was just like, oh, like I just want this so badly, like blah, 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 like I just need to get this done, do 10 out of 10 job. Those are the ones that like never go anywhere. And it's the ones where I like just literally don't care at all. And I'm like just doing it to like do it. Even though like I love my career, like I love auditioning, I love it. But it's like when you have that mentality that you just don't care what the outcome is, for some reason, like the nonchalant way of like doing things just like works. And I think maybe it's also something like in your mind that like if you don't want something so bad, your like body and like your mind is like almost prepared for like you to have it. I don't know. It makes it yeah.
Interesting. No, I like that outlook on it. It's almost like because I want to say like it's like a hack, like that's something that
Yeah.
people can take from it, like,
Yeah.
but it's really something that people have to experience for themselves, though. It's like you
Yeah.
can't like pretend, you can't lie to yourself and pretend you don't care deeply
Yeah.
about
That's the thing.
something.
Like, everybody is like manifesting things these days. And
Hmm.
like, I believe in that to like an extent, but
Hmm.
like, I'm always on like TikTok. This is kind of off subject, but I'm always
Go
on
for it.
TikTok, and God, you like scroll through the For You page, and it's always like this is a sign you need to manifest this, and like you need to stop caring about blah blah blah, and it's gonna come to you, and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, first of all, if you're telling me not to do something, like I'm automatically doing it.
Yep.
So like when you tell me not to focus on someone or like something, like that is literally all I'm doing. So it's like you can't buy like not caring about it. Because like if you really do care about something, that's how you feel, and like your emotions are attached to it, and that's fine. And you got to just go with the course and see what happens. But like when you really don't care about something, for some reason the universe is just like, here you go, you can have
There you
it.
go. Take it.
Yeah, just take it and go.
That's awesome. Well, so I don't know if this will be a difficult question, but I know that you like deleted your Instagram account after the show aired.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I had just kind of okay, so when the show aired, and this was it last summer,
Hmm.
I had always kind of had a like a worry. And it's always been a worry for me um in this industry because I've just never fit what I was, which is like a really confusing thing in general. So once I booked the role, and obviously we learned that Tia was the mom and everything, and then it was like I kind of felt like, oh, like okay, this kind of makes sense. Like maybe people will understand this. But as the show started doing their promotions and publicity for things, I would always be like looking at the comments, and everything was just like everything was pretty much negative about me. And it's like I just like got to the point where I couldn't stand looking at the comments that were negative because first of all, people hadn't even seen the show. A lot of people didn't know like the background on the family, and that Tia is mixed, therefore Jade is mixed, therefore the whole family is mixed. A lot of, I mean, Jordan, who plays Ami, she's mixed in real life. Technically, so is Anthony. Believe Anthony is mixed as well, and so is Cameron. And so it's like, I, it's this thing where like nobody really knew, like, because the publicity was like this is a black family, even though in reality it is a mixed family in a sense. But everyone saw me and were like, that girl is like way too light. Like that doesn't make sense. They were all very confused as to like why I was in it. And a lot of them thought I was white. Which like look, I know I'm pretty pale. Like I'm actually tan now because like I've been in the sun. But like I know I'm light. But like I don't think I look white. Like I just doubt people like think I look white.
Hmm.
And so after seeing all the comments and everything, and then when the show dropped, people found my Instagram, and then people were watching it, and there was a lot of stuff, controversy with that wig they had me in. God, I hated that wig. Like, that was also one of the problems is that when, like, it really kind of got bad and, like, the comments got bad, everyone was, like, attacking me for things, when in reality I didn't really have control over a lot of, I didn't really have control over any of it. And obviously people from outside of the industry don't comprehend how things work in the industry. But like I did not have control over the wig. I obviously didn't cast myself, or I feel like everyone would be casting themselves and things. But I was looking at all the comments, and I remember like crying in my room to my mom, and I
Hmm.
was just like, I can't do it. Like I worked so hard for this, and like it was really disappointing and discouraging to see like people like hate on it or hate on me. And my biggest fear was always like people would hate the show because of me, or like that they would see me and like I don't know, just feel like it didn't fit, or like something was just off even though it wasn't off, and that people would be like, I don't want to watch the show. And I didn't want to ruin things for other people, and I didn't want to ruin things for people on the show, like my castmates obviously. So I just deleted Instagram off my phone. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't see it. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to do anything. My mom had actually gone into my like settings or whatever, and there's like a setting where you can like put in certain words that won't come up in comments.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so she had done that, even though I had deleted it off my phone, and it still didn't really work. I don't know. People found ways to say mean things without saying mean things. Like,
Right. People are
if,
gross.
yeah, they will really find a way. And so I just kind of deleted it off my phone. I didn't want to see anything. And I didn't really download it for a while. I didn't look at my page for a while. I didn't want to. I also wanted to like live in the moment because it was kind of summer was ending and I was going to be 18 that summer, at the end of that summer. And I was just like, this is my show is coming out and this should be like a happy time and I should be excited about things. And I worked really hard for this. And I didn't want like other people who didn't experience it and hadn't like been there along with me to like take down that experience for me. So I just deleted it, stayed off it. Anthony and Tia ended up calling me that day. Tia and me talked for a while, and because obviously she had kind of the same troubles in the industry since she was a mixed teenage girl, around the same age that I was in the industry. So we talked for a while, and she had a lot of really helpful information and just was telling me like, this is the type of stuff that would happen to her and her sister, and it did get to them. And she was showing me and telling me how like eventually she realized like it was never going to go the way they wanted to because they can't control what other people think, and to not try to control what other people think because you could never make somebody think the way you think. So she was like, you just have to think about you and know that what you do is good, and like you worked really hard for something and you put a lot of work into something, and that it's your experience, and to try and not think about how everybody else feels about you, because in the larger like aspect of things, it doesn't really matter what like Tommy from like Oklahoma thinks about you. Like it just
Screw
doesn't matter.
Tommy.
Screw Tommy. He doesn't know me. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the most ridiculous things is that, especially in this day and age, like people can think a certain thing, but the fact that people say that thing is just like,
Yeah.
keep it to yourself, especially
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the show or like you don't know.
Yeah.
Because the wig served it serves a
It did.
purpose. Like,
Did.
you know what I mean? Watch the show,
Yeah.
Tommy.
And then even like people would be like, who is that girl? Like, why is she white? Or like why did they hire a white girl to play black? I'm like, first of all, not white. Like,
Yeah.
and then they're like, why would they hire her to play like a black girl? And those people hadn't even watched the show. And there would be people commenting who had watched the show, and they're like, it's not fully black. Jade's grandmother is white. Like, she's mixed in the show. The kids are mixed. That's how it is. Coco's mixed. But like people would just comment on things without even like knowing it. Like, don't you feel kind of dumb doing that? I would hate
Right.
to like look stupid on the internet because you're not educated in the proper way. Like, maybe like take your time to understand. That's what I always say. It's like, take your time to understand a situation before you like have anything to say about it, no matter what. Because that way, like, you just won't look dumb. I hate looking dumb.
Right. Absolutely. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great that you had Tia there. I mean,
Yeah.
if only you had a twin sister that you could go through this
Right?
with.
I
No,
have a brother who kind of looks similar to me, but that's about it.
yeah. Well, so since then, and like, have you had time to sort of process that and like, what's your relationship with social media now? And like, is your experience with the show, is it like much more positive now? Like, how have things changed since then?
Yeah. Ever since that whole situation, I've kind of just learned to like not let it affect me. I don't really like, if I'm being honest, I don't really care what anybody says now. Like, it's to the point where like, I mean, I think deep down, like, all we really care about is what we think of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you let, well, this is how it is for me. I only get upset when I let other people make me think differently of myself, because I really only care what I think. So it's like, I think what I was doing wrong was I was letting what other people were saying about me affect the way I saw myself, which should have never happened. Like, it was just bringing up things that made me feel less. And once I realized, like, it doesn't matter what they think. I mean, obviously, to an extent, it matters, but, like, it doesn't really matter to me as Talia what they think about me if it's in a negative way, because they don't know me, and they never really will. And I think I had to start focusing on, like, what I thought of myself, and, like, I knew I did a good job. I knew I was the best person for the role. Like, I knew that this was, like, meant to be for me. Now, like, looking back at it, I wish I had, like, enjoyed it more, because I remember that when all the trailers had dropped, it was, like, such an exciting time, but then I was just looking at all the comments, and I remember, like, crying in the back seat of my friend's car when we were driving from Starbucks. We had gone to get Starbucks, and I don't know, I was sitting in the back seat, we were playing music, and my mom had, like, texted me the thing, and she was like, "It's out." And Strong Black Lead had, like, which is the Instagram account, had posted the promo on there, and I was, like, going on there to look at the comments, and they were just, like, all bad. Like, I'm sure if you guys still look at the comments, it's literally just, like, all bad comments pretty much about me. And I just, like, burst into tears, and I called my mom, and I was like, "I don't want to look at any of that stuff. Please don't send me anything. I don't want to see it." And I wish I had just, like, enjoyed that time more, because that was something I'd worked 10 years for. And I feel like the whole, like, glowy experience of things was kind of diminished because I was so, like, terrified of what everybody else thought, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And on behalf of the internet, I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah, people suck, but it's like, I mean, at this point, I look at social media like a joke, kind of. Like, I see things so differently, and obviously a lot of my friends are in the industry and social media, and some of them are influencers or actors or singers, and it's like I see things from a different perspective, because I see people in real life, how they act and what's going on with them, if it's mentally, physically, whatever. And then I see how they portray things on social media, and it's just never the same. So it's like, I never take anything anyone says on social media to heart. And I never take what anyone posts on social media to heart. Like, I don't know, everything's like a joke on social media. Everything is a joke, or it's like, or it's just not realistic. It's never a realistic, like, picture into somebody's life. So I just try and, like, I use it to, you know, have some sort of contact with fans, and let the people who do appreciate me and love me see what I'm up to, and let them have, like, a peek into my life, because I really do. I mean, if people really want to see what I'm doing, like, I appreciate that, and I want to show them, even though it's not super interesting. But yeah, I never, like, I don't know, I used to use it as, like, a social platform, like, where I would just reach out, like, it was like texting or something to me. And now it's just, like, it's kind of more of, like, something I do for others instead of for myself, you know?
Yeah, which
It's
sometimes
kind of,
is
kind of
a
the
shame.
worst. It is, yeah.
But it's almost a necessary,
It kind
especially
of
in your
is.
industry.
It kind of
It's
is.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. From like a user perspective, from like fans, and from I think everybody that uses social media, it's like a mirror of yourself, but only the
Only what
best
you want people
aspects
to
of
see.
you.
Yeah.
Or the worst aspects of you. Like if you're
Yeah.
trolling, like it's just going to bring out your insecurities, things that you're jealous of, or that you wish you could have or be,
Yes.
or just there's no filter. And then you're putting out all the best stuff, all the your best face. You're
Yeah.
all made up, and you're all never right down the middle, never what
No.
a human really is. It's like, a human is like the best aspects of yourself and the worst aspects of yourself, and encapsulated in a human being, but never on social media.
I feel like it's, like, awful that that's kind of how social media is, because even, like, with this whole quarantine thing, I feel like people are only on social media, like, because there's literally nothing else to do. And it's, like, terrible for you to just continuously look at these people who, like, look just, like, so perfect, and their lives just seem so like incredible and like, oh, you would just like kill to have it. And like it's just never like that. And so you're working so hard for something that will never come to you, and you'll never find that happiness, because like no matter what, you'll always be like, but my life isn't like this, I don't look like this, my hair isn't like this, blah blah. It's like, well, yeah, because nobody's is. No, but no,
Yeah.
like nobody is like that. Nobody's life is that perfect. You're just not seeing bad. You only see the good, or you only see what people want you to see. And I've had to like tell myself that a lot more. I used to just look at everybody and be like, oh, I want to be like that. Like, how can I get there? And now it's like that there like doesn't exist. You're walking towards a platform that just is like moving away from you because it's not real. And it's too hard to like try and be something for somebody else. Because like in reality, sometimes I don't even want like the life of other people. It's just like you see what other people are attracted to, and like what pulls them into like somebody else's life, and you're like, oh, like I kind of want that, but not for me. I just want that so that other people would want it from me, you know?
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a really good point about quarantine too. It's like when you don't have those human interactions except for whoever's with you in your
Yeah.
house, it's like you do spend much more time on social media. And one of the things we talk about on this podcast all the time is what we've been talking about is the fact that people are putting their best foot forward, so to speak. They're putting only their perfect artwork or their perfect
Yeah.
song or their perfect photograph or whatever it is. And that can be really demoralizing when you're struggling to just keep like waking up and going to sleep,
Yeah.
everything in between, just like to feel normal or to feel okay and to feel somewhat productive. But everywhere you look online, it's like everybody's thriving in the quarantine. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, no, I was doing terrible. I still am doing terrible. Like, this is hard. And, like, not even in the sense of, like, this is, like, a hard experience, because it kind of is. But, like, I don't know. This whole thing has just, like, messed everything up. It has just made everything seem so off. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's made me, like, awful. Like, within the first, okay, so when did this whole thing start? In March? Like, March 15th or
Yeah,
something
in
for
terms of
here.
quarantine, yeah,
Yeah.
mid-March, yeah.
It started like around March. Well, in LA at least, they were like giving out some like warnings. Obviously, you could still go out and stuff, but there was like some restrictions to things. And when the restrictions were still happening and people could still kind of go out, I was still trying to like hike and stuff, just so that like, because I knew this was coming, like I knew this would happen. So I wanted to like get out while I could, while it wasn't illegal, you know? So I was like, I need to go on hikes and like just walk outside and like try and go to the beach and stuff and stay away from people, but like get out before it's illegal, you know? So I was like hiking a lot and walking a lot outside and like going to like nature places, like when this thing first kind of was coming upon. And I was doing fine, and I'd still like social distance myself from people, but like we could still kind of like hike together and stuff like that. So it was like there was still like some type of connection with people. And then as this got worse and like I was inside by myself and away from everyone, I don't know, things just got like real. Like it like hit me. And then like Los Angeles keeps extending it. So for me, it's just like a never ending thing. It just feels like it will like literally never end, even though it will. I was doing like okay for the first 2 weeks, because that's all we kind of thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were like, we just need 14 days and then blah, blah, blah. And then it wasn't 14 days, and then it was a month, and then another month, and now it's like another 2 months or something like that they added on. Now I'm at the point where, like, I don't know, everything is bleak and terrible.
Sometimes when I'm dreaming,
Yeah.
I can't run for some reason. Like I'm in a race, but I can't run,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it feels like. It's
It
like I can
is.
see the finish line, but the finish like I'm running and I'm moving, but like
It
the finish
just
line just keeps
keeps
moving.
extending. Yeah. Yeah. And, like,
So
I don't know. I used to, like, talk to a bunch of people. I used to always FaceTime people, always be super, like, I don't know, just trying to stay in touch with people, because I was like, oh, this will end soon and we'll all see each other again and blah 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 blah. I'll be happy. We've made plans and whatever. And then it didn't, and I just like stopped talking to people. Like I just stopped talking to people. Like, and my friends were like, where did you go? Like, what happened? I stopped like baking. Like, I know a bunch of people were like, this will be a great time for me to like bake and learn how to cook and like, I don't know, learn extra skills and stuff. And then you like learned the skill and now you're like, oh, like what else? It's like I pretty much baked everything I could bake, and I'm like gluten free, so that's not much for me to bake. But like I baked everything I could, and then I was like, oh, like okay, well this will be over soon now since I baked everything, and then it isn't, and then you're like, all right, got to find something else to keep me busy, and then you finish that, and then you're just kind of like, it's like you're doing like a cycle of like distractions, because I think we all live like for distractions.
Oh, 100%.
Which I think is really what's really terrible about this is for people with mental illness and any type of mental illness is like, I know from my perspective, I always like will live through distractions to try and like take me away from what's going on in my head. And now like we don't really have that. Like nobody really has a distraction. It's like you are with yourself just like all day. And I think it's like really gotten to people who struggle with like anxiety and depression and really any type of mental disorder, because you don't have that like distraction to pull you away from that stuff, you know?
I know completely. I actually quit drinking on Sunday I had my 1 year
Wow.
anniversary. Yeah.
Congratulations.
But like, thank you. I was talking to my wife about if I was still drinking these days, like it all would have come to a head within the past 2 months for sure. Because like, yeah, I completely agree. Like I am really thinking about people with addiction issues or people with mental issues.
Especially those with addictions who haven't gotten the chance to get away from that. Like if they're still kind of in that mindset and then it's just around you and you have all this access, because like unfortunately it's too easy for people to get the things that they want during this quarantine thing. Not like groceries and stuff, but like if you're trying to get like alcohol and like any type of stuff, like you just get it delivered to your house and there's nothing else to do. So like I'm sure people who have addictions like that, it just seems like that's like an only option for them, which is like kind of how it is for mental illness in a sense, because it's like comes to a point where it's like, well, I guess I'll just be depressed for the next month since there's nothing else to do.
Right.
It's like there's nothing that like has to keep you like up and keep you like focusing on yourself and trying to like better yourself, because it just makes you feel like oh, this is how it's going to be forever. I might as well just go into a hole and like stay there until this is done, which is bad because it won't just last until it's done. Like it'll just continue out and you'll never really be able to get out of that cycle.
Yeah, you talk about, you know, I'm going to learn how to bake. That's one thing, but it's another thing to be like, all right, I'm going to take this time to get over my depression or to get over, like you said, it's like, that's not the first thought that enters your mind. The thought that enters your mind is, I can't wait until this is over so that I can work on those things or get help for those things. It's tough.
It is.
I think you're being hard on yourself because you have spent this time to work on your singing and to release songs and make music videos. So could you talk about that? Like when first of all, when did singing kind of enter the picture for you?
Singing had always kind of been like the little side character in my life and my
little side character. I love that.
and my life. And it had always been there with me. I had toured with Andrea Bocelli when I was quite young. I'd done that and
big deal.
Yeah, it was like a lot of people don't really know unless people ask me about my singing, because I think people assume like, oh, she's an actress. Like that's what people know me from, which I am an actress, and it's always kind of been my first love in a sense. And I've never pictured myself not being an actress, but I've slowly pictured myself being an actress and a singer. And I think when my music really started to become like a career for me, or like it started to be like something I could finally open my like myself up to, because I've always sang. I've always done plays and always just loved music, and obviously touring with Andrea and stuff like that. but it had never been like the number one thing for me because I was so focused on like getting my acting down. And then once I had booked Family Reunion, some part of me felt like, okay, like this, now my acting is like at a good place and it's settled. Like I can finally work on my music without feeling like my acting is going to like fall behind, you know?
Yeah, like the plate was spinning.
Yeah,
So now you can move on to the next.
exactly. I never wanted to like put anything ahead of one. I always wanted things to like be equal and like be able to work together and coincide with each other. And so once I had the acting thing figured out, in a sense, I started doing music, and I started off by just doing covers and stuff. And I was working with somebody who was helping me produce my covers and stuff. And I was at first not like shy towards it. I just like, I don't know, I have this weird thing where like I'm like a perfectionist. So like everything to me has to be like perfect, or like I just want nobody to ever see it. Like it just it doesn't exist if it's not perfect.
All or nothing.
All or nothing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And doing the covers, there's a few I've just like literally never posted because I was just like, ew, no, like I can't do it. Like no, I don't want it out there. And the ones that I did post, they had to literally beg me to post. And like I literally had a panic attack the first time I ever posted a cover because I was just like it was, I don't know, it was never like perfect for me. And I don't think anything I do is like ever super perfect, just because like I literally reach for like 110%, which like you can't really get there. But I do that so that like I like always will strive for that, you know? And so I started just doing the covers, and although I like didn't hate putting them out, but it was like I loved singing. I love singing. I love writing. I love everything. I just like get so nervous like actually putting this stuff out there.
Hitting post.
Yeah, because it's like it's that thing of like just caring about what everybody else thinks about you. And I think once I finally realized that like I want to do music for me instead of music for everybody else, and like the people who will enjoy my music and the people who will love me as an artist, like those are the people I do it for. I'm not trying to like put music out there for the people who don't like care. Like if you don't care, you don't care, and that's fine. And I get that. So I finally got the courage to put an original out. And that one original that I put out is actually like taken down. We took it down from iTunes because I love the song, but it's just not the direction I want to go in anymore. And it was called I'm Not Jealous. I don't know. Some people have heard it. Some people have not. I think it's like the newer people who have not heard it. Older people have heard it. I put it out last summer, and that was my first like original thing. I helped co-write that with a writer and a producer. And it was actually like really freeing for me to do that. And then once I had put it out and seen all like the great feedback from things, and it was actually a really good song. I love the song, and it had like sentimental value to me because I obviously wrote it about somebody, and I think it was like a very important step in my career. And even though that's not necessarily the direction I'm going in, and I don't know how many people will actually end up hearing that song, those who like haven't already heard it, but it was like the thing that really opened me up to being like, I think I want to be an artist, be a singer alongside with the acting. So I just kept working on things. I wrote another song with my producer, who's amazing. We wrote it together. And that one was 5-5, which we did like a whole TikTok thing with. And we like just used that song as like my publicity push for like my singing, so that people could like recognize me in that way instead of just an actress. And then obviously we have Complicated, which is out now. I co-wrote that one. That was done before quarantine happened. And now with quarantine happening, I've just been writing, and I just actually finished a song last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm in the middle of writing another one, which I think is going to be like one of my favorites that I've ever written. And so, yeah, I've just been like working on that, trying not to stress myself out with the idea of like, I need to push music out. Like I have to go, like be productive, do this. You got to be creative, like get it done in 3 hours, like type thing. I've just been like doing it as I feel it'll come out like naturally. I never want to like pressure myself in doing stuff like that. And I think within these last like couple of weeks, I've really gotten a lot of like motivation to like do my music the way I really, really want to do it, and where like I want to continue to do it. Because for a while it was kind of like I was just not entirely sure what direction I wanted to go in, and now I'm like very certain what direction I want to go in, and that feels like really good to me, because I was so scared that like I would just never figure out where I was like happy in the end in like the music industry. I felt like I was always going to be like doing stuff for other people, and now I'm like finally at the point where it's like, yes, like this is the stuff I want to put out. This feels like me. I feel so comfortable like singing this. Like this is just everything I want for my career, you know? And I feel like the next couple of songs that I put out, people are going to really like, I don't know, people are really going to like feel like it's really me. Yeah. And the song that I just finished last night, I wrote like pretty much entirely. My producer, Maishan, did some writing too, but it like the idea and everything came from me. And it's like a personal type of story. And so I feel like the next song will like really resonate with a lot of people.
And what's that song called?
Piece of Me.
Piece of Me. Okay.
Yes. And that one will be out soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
This will be out in probably like 3 weeks or so. So
yeah,
we'll direct people as it comes, or when it comes. You mentioned that like you feel like you're finally confident with what you're saying in your music, like that it's you, and like you're like really just happy with it. What can you pinpoint exactly like what during like the songs that you've created, like that journey, like when was it that you pinpointed the moment where it kind of came together for you, like, or was it just the actual walking of the path, like of kind of getting the other songs out of you to get to like where your voice needs to be? I don't want to say your voice, but like where your message needs to be.
Yeah. I would say it was when I realized I could use my music to almost like not cure myself, but like help with like the things that bothered me and stuff like that. When I realized like not only could it help myself, but that it could help other people understand and like relieve themselves from certain things. Because I know when I listen to like certain songs, and like I don't know, okay, there's a song "Comfortable" by Her, and like when I listen to that song, it just makes me feel so like loved. Like I don't know why. I don't know why. It makes me feel like it's the person who wrote it, which I actually know the person who wrote it.
Oh, wow.
Alongside with her. His name is Ant Clemens. He's an amazing writer and artist. And it makes me just feel like, I don't know, I love music that like you feel like you can just like, you understand it. Even though that person may be so different from you, live thousands of miles away, have completely different lives, different ages, everything. Like when a song like clicks and it's like, wow, like no matter how different I am from some person, I feel like we've both shared kind of a similar experience, and the way that the music resonates with you. And that's when I realized like I could do the same thing for people. I could just by using like what I've been through and like the things that hurt me and the things that made me realize I deserved better, or the things that made me realize my worth. Like I could sing about that, and I could share that, and I could write that and put it in a beautiful way where people would listen and feel not relief, but feel some sort of peace at knowing that like they're not alone in something. Because there's a lot of music I've listened to that made me realize like I'm not the only one who's been through whatever that is. And it's almost like knowing somebody else understands, in a sense, brought me like peace. And once I had realized that I could do the same thing for not only myself but for other people, it was like I just kind of fell on like my path. And I am going in the direction of we're calling it indie pop R&B. That's like the direction I'm going in. And yeah, I don't know, ever since I kind of started looking at it that way, instead of like a put music out to do music type thing, like now I'm finally like happy with where I'm going, and I'm happy with where I can see myself in a couple of years, you know, or where I can see my career, I would say, in a couple of years.
It's really it's interesting to see that dichotomy between, like, earlier in this conversation you were talking about, you know, social media, and where it's like you're just putting it out for, it's not for you, it's for other people. And then the difference between your music, how it's, you know, it's, you finally found something that's for you, but at the same time, you know, when you serve yourself and when you're able to kind of share your message and figure, I have the same thing with writing. Like, I don't know how I feel about the world until I've written about it. And
yeah, exactly.
it helps me figure things out, figure my emotions and figure just my opinions out. But anyway, when you're able to do that for yourself then, and have it kind of solely be for yourself, that is almost even so much more of a gift to other people.
It is. And I'm so thankful that I was given the gift to be able to sing, just because even in my own life, it's helped me so much. Singing has been such like a relief for me, and it's almost like a therapeutic type thing. And writing has been such a therapeutic experience, because I feel like I've gotten a lot out that has just been stuck in my head, and I never knew how to say it until I realized I didn't have to say it. I could sing it, or I could like write it for somebody else to sing it. And yeah, I don't know, it's been a really great journey for me to like figure out my voice, literally my voice.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I'm so glad I finally like got myself to this point, but I'm also so glad people pushed me too, because even though like I had always wanted to do it, I was just so terrified. And once people were like, you have such a beautiful voice, like you have these great ideas, like you should just go and do it. And I'm so thankful to my friends and my family that like could see what was there before I could, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, opening up the floodgates is usually like the hardest part. But like you said, like once you put out that first song, it's like it doesn't have to necessarily stay up on the internet forever. Like you can always take it down if you want.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to almost give yourself that exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Just to like put it out, see that the world doesn't end,
Yeah,
and then you can kind of pivot.
That is it. The world doesn't end, and like even though it literally seems like it's going to these days, but
right, slowly ending.
Yeah, that is like something I've kind of always said. It's like you really only live once, and you just have one shot to do this, and you can't go back in time, unfortunately, yet. And until somebody figures out how to do that, somebody please figure out how to do that. There's a lot of things I'd like
please.
to kind of, but until somebody does figure out how to do that, this is all you have. And like, just put out that song. I don't know, write a crappy poem and say it at like your nearby coffee shop. Like, I don't know, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you have to do, and do it for you. 'Cause like, it's your life, and the only person who's ever truly going to really care about you and like take care of you forever is you. So like, do what makes you happy, because that you literally only have one shot at it. And I'm so glad I like got into it, because I would hate to like live this life without knowing what the possibility could be with my singing career, because I wouldn't know. I would just be gone, and that was it. That was my story. And you know.
Yeah, a lot of people's like biggest fear is death, but like my biggest fear is like the deathbed, and not even like that, you know, you're gonna die. It's just like being old and looking back and saying, what if, like, you know, just all those shots that you could have taken, like all the things that you could have put out, like
that's like my biggest fear as well. It's kind of not necessarily like the deathbed. It's more like doing things incorrectly and never being able to like go back, because like you just have one thing, and it's like I just hope I've done everything right, or I hope I've done everything that will like make me happy, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I think you have it up to this point, so just keep going. You
just
got plenty
don't
of
mess
time.
it up now.
Don't screw it up now.
Yeah.
Talia, we always like to end with what I call the final push. And that's where I ask you to reach through the microphone and grab the shoulder of somebody that you've already really inspired today, and just give them your best final words of advice and push them to pursue their own creative passions.
Yeah. Well, my word of advice would be the biggest thing that took me a long time to learn is that things don't just happen. Like it's just it. You look through social media and you look through, I don't know, any type of like publication, and I feel like they always put out the stories of something started acting 3 months ago and now this is their first big thing and they're doing amazing and it was so easy and like all that, and it's just like it really never is, and that is the hard truth, but it's also so important because even though it's not easy, it doesn't mean it's impossible. The reason it's so hard is because that great outcome is going to be so amazing and so grand that it's like it literally makes all the hard work so worth it. I have never regretted the past 10 years of my life, and I've never thought like, wow, I really not wasted 10 years of my life, but I worked 10 years without anything just to get this, and it's like this was so worth it. And I urge people to just stick with it, and all the no's you're going to get will eventually be a yes, and that yes is going to be so perfect for you, because I would have hated to be on a show that maybe I didn't feel like I connected with, or the people just weren't great, and I'm just so glad that like I finally got the right project for me. And I've watched it happen with my friends. I've watched it. My best friend just booked, or she'd actually booked it a couple months ago, but her pilot got picked up on CW, and I've watched her work so hard for the last 3 or 4 years, and so many no's, and I've seen her at her like worst, where she was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this industry anymore. And she finally got that one thing, and she's been acting since she was like 5 as well, so she's been in it for like at least 10 years, and she finally got that like big yes, and it will happen. Trust me, it will happen, and it'll be so worth it, and it really only can go up from there, because at a certain point your career will start to just take off, and the things that are right for you will find their way to you. So yeah, that's my word of advice. And I would say also try and reach out to people who understand it. Like I've found that being in this industry, once I had found my like group, my people who like understood me, and we all kind of wanted the same things, it made like all the hard work and all this waiting so much easier, because we were all kind of in it together, you know?
Yeah, having that tribe definitely helps.
Yeah, it does a lot.
And if you can't find the tribe, hopefully this podcast helps a little bit.
Hopefully you feel
people are dealing with the same thing you're dealing with.
We are. Yeah.
Talia, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for spending an hour with us and sharing your story and, diving deep into, perfectionism and your career. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I love it.
Absolutely. And if you want to find out more about Talia, you can head to her Instagram. She is Talia Jackson Official, and we'll have that all linked up at today's show notes page, yourcreativepush.com/360. Talia, thanks again.
Thank you.
Huge thank you once again to Talia for coming on the show and sharing her inspiration. So many things I could say about this episode, but I'm going to leave you with one thought, and that is that theme that she was talking about towards the beginning of the episode, where the less we care about something, the better we often do. How she didn't care as much about the family reunion audition, unlike other ones that she put so much effort into the audition and so much effort into what would hopefully result in a role of a lifetime. And it's such a tricky balance to figure out, because one of the concepts that we've unearthed over the years on this podcast is that the more nervous energy we have for something, the more fear we have about participating in a particular event or creating something, the more we're supposed to do it, the more that will bring us to our higher self. So how then, when you're feeling all of this nervous energy and you know that you're supposed to go for something and you know that it's important to your soul to go for that, how then are you supposed to pretend that you don't care about it? How are you supposed to be nonchalant about it? And it's such a paradox, and I don't think that there is a complete answer to this, but it's something that I've been thinking about since my conversation with Talia. And what I came up with is, yes, caring about the thing, letting yourself care deeply about the thing to ensure that you actually do it, but trying to detach yourself as best as possible from the outcome of the thing. So, if you're auditioning for a role, putting all of your energy into performing well, into putting your best foot forward, and like Talia said, giving it a 10 out of 10 effort-wise, but putting like 0 out of 10 of your energy into thinking about the outcome, thinking about all types of future timelines that you cannot control. Once you put your best foot forward, you've done everything that you can do, and the decision is out of your hands. And this is the same for anything, for creating music, for creating visual art, for taking photographs, for doing anything that requires you to put yourself out there. Once it's out into the world, there is some things that you can do in order for it to get more traction, going on forums, sending it out on your email list. I mean, all kinds of different tactics. But what I'm talking about is the reception that it gets from the world is out of your hands at that point. And a lot of this comes from putting yourself out there over and over again and receiving feedback on all points of the spectrum. You put something out and it fails and you survive. You put something out and you succeed, and of course you survive as well. But after each experiment, after each iteration, your life doesn't change in some profound way that you maybe thought before you put this art out there, before you put yourself out there. So still use your gut to get those feelings of what's important to you. When you get those feelings of trepidation or fear or anxiety, lean into those things, but try to detach yourself from those feelings. Try to detach your ego from it. And when you think about the results of the thing, when you think about what's going to happen after, what it's going to mean for you, try to take it like when you meditate. When a thought comes in your head, just observe it and let it pass. So too, put all of your energy into the creation of it, into your effort when you're putting yourself out there. And let the future thoughts of the result of this thing pass by you like a wispy cloud. On our next episode, we have Andrew, aka Zbo Arts. Andrew is a super down-to-earth guy. He has made me laugh out loud so much in the past couple months with his YouTube videos. And he comes on the show next week to give us a unique look at procrastination, interacting with your community, and why your drawings suck. If you want to find out more about Andrew, you can head to his YouTube or his Instagram or his Twitter. On all of those platforms, he is Zbo Arts. That's XABIO ARTS, and we'll have that all linked up at today's show notes page, along with everything we talked about with Talia, and everywhere you can find her music at yourcreativepush.com/360. But that's all I've got for you today, so hopefully you were inspired to go and get your work done, so go and get it done, and we will be here for you next week if you need that push again. I love you all so much, and remember that the universe needs your creations, and you are the universe. We'll see you next time. Hey YouTubers, if you like this episode, I handpicked another one for you. I think you'll like it just as much. Just click it right there on the left side of your screen, and on the right is a playlist of episodes from guests that came from the same creative field as the one that you just listened to. And please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out before it goes away. Enjoy the next episode.